Hey folks, is there in the pedantic, and I just wanted to take a very, very short amount of time just to talk about Lion and Dragon. So I have gotten to play as a player in a Lion and Dragon game, and this makes me very happy because I loved running Lion and Dragon, but I always wanted to experience it from the other side of the screen. And having done so has really reminded me just how much I love that freaking system and the setting and all the stuff that's implied by the game. So, for those who don't know, Lion and Dragon is this thing right here. Or at least there's some of it. So this is the Dark Albion source book that includes like all the setting material and stuff like that, along with the rules for making Lion and Dragon kind of work with a can like just your basic OSR stuff that was before Lion and Dragon was released. Here we have the Cults of Chaos source book, which is basically just how to run cult themed adventures and things like that with Lion and Dragon. I also have the old school the thing that combines all of his articles that uh old school anthology. No, it's not the anthology companion. It's the old school companion. That's the one. That's the one that has all this extra stuff for Lion and Dragon that's really useful. And also I have the core book. I just don't know where the hell it's at. Chelsea moved my stuff around and I can't find it. Anyway, Doof says big chungus, and I almost put him in timeout on accident. Hopefully I didn't. But yeah, I don't have a big chungus. I've got rats. I can bring my rats on here, but that's about it. Anyway, so what does Lion and Dragon do right in my estimation? Well, first off, the experience of Lion and Dragon as a player is just it feels like it feels old school in a lot of ways. So what I mean by that is it makes me feel kind of like I feel whenever I'm playing uh BX and I've run out of spell slots. Spell slots. I've run out of spells for the day. And but I'm always out of spells. And I'm not this incredibly powerful fighter. Maybe I'm limited on a lot of things, like Lion and Dragon makes you in by default be in a position where you are vulnerable. And I really, really love that. I love that it makes you feel vulnerable because then you are taking an entirely different mindset compared to the way that you were thinking whenever you are playing Dungeons and Dragons, especially whenever you're playing at the higher levels and things like that. It won't ever really get to a point where you don't feel at least somewhat vulnerable in Lion and Dragon unless you are really nailing those hit point rolls every time that you level up, because you don't just get a lot of hit points. Basically, you have a d6 for level 0. So level 0 is a thing that you can do. And then you have your hit die for level 1, both of them modified by con, which can only be between -3 and +3. And then you have after that, it's static increases whenever you level up. So basically 2 points for fighters, I believe, and then 1 point for everybody else, something in that vicinity. And so your hit point values don't get up a whole lot unless you choose, whenever you level up, to pick the feature that increases your HP, or you roll twice and you happen to land on the one that increases your HP. So I have 2 characters. This is something that is recommended. I believe it's recommended by the book. Is that you have people run 2 different characters. You can have them run them together or separate, just depending on what exactly you're trying to do. In this case, I was running them side by side, but it's mostly because we didn't have as many players as we may have needed for things otherwise. We would have been screwed if my characters didn't go together. Anyway, and they ended up pretty significantly different. So, and I will get the comments. Don't worry, guys. So I have Samuel the fighter. Now, here's the thing about Samuel. Whenever I rolled him up, you do this thing on prior events, and the prior event that I rolled for him was that his party from before had died, so he was actually a level 2 character. So I rolled up a level 1 character, and it turns out that he was actually a level 2 character. So, um, actually, I think it says gain a level, and so I think that would put you at level 1 if you're rolling up a level 0, but whatever. In any case, he started as a level 2 fighter. Now, did that put him drastically ahead of everyone else? Not really. Not terribly. Really, the thing that helped him quite a bit is that I happen to roll pretty well on my feature rolls, and by the way, I don't ever choose. I roll every time. Every fucking time. Because your character is gonna be getting more features than he would otherwise, and it's less metagamey, basically. And I appreciate that. I mean, maybe you could accuse that of being metagamey that you're rolling because you get more features. I don't know. But anyway, so he ended up being a rather beefy dude. He's got 15 max HP. And we can look back at my other character, Lakey, who is a Kimry, and she started with 6. So that probably feels a lot closer to home whenever you're talking about people that have played BX and stuff like that. Yeah, she started with 6. What her whole thing is she has a lost heirloom, and there's some other stuff that's connected to that. But really, with the way that she ended up, because you roll on these charts for your level advances, the thing that really made her kind of remarkable is that her basic saving throw is only a 12. So for any saving throw, she is going to have, normally it's supposed to be 16. Everyone has a base 16. Because she's a Kimry, it went down to 15. And then because she has a high charisma, it went down to 13 because she has 16 charisma, so plus 2 charisma. And that so it goes down to 13. And then I also, whenever I got the level up, so I got the thing that said that it goes down again. So yet again, 12. So she's going to have a pretty decent chance of surviving a lot of serious deleterious effects. And, that is pretty cool. And whenever she levels up again, there are a number of features that she may be able to pull from. As far as the game and how it functions, so you don't have all these incredible abilities. I mean, looking at my characters, so my fighter currently is going to be able to attack. He's going to be able to do the thing where you attack multiple one-hit die or less creatures equal to his level. So he can do that. He does a little bit extra damage. He is better with using armor than your average person. So for him, he gets more out of his armor than everybody else because he's a fighter. I love that feature. So he does a little bit more damage. He is going to be able to use a lot more weapons. He's better at parrying with his shield, which, by the way, there is a parrying feature I think it's really pretty well written. Basically you get something out of fighting defensively. You could potentially still hit somebody while you're making yourself able to block or mitigate damage. And I mean, to me, I think that it's the way that it's handled is really cool. You can just be like, I am the brick wall right now, and you're not going to get through me. And so I'm not even going to attack, but I'm going to stop you from hurting me. And I'm going to stop you from getting past me. So that, to me, is really cool. The way that it handles that is really cool. So beyond that, let's see. -2 saves. Oh yeah, already. Okay. All right. Hold on. I'm just checking some stuff real quick. All right. So beyond that, what kinds of abilities do they have? My Kimry, she is able to do summoning and apply her level and to that summoning ability. She has kind of the elf-like ability to be a little bit better at searching for things because there is kind of this connection to elf blood that is at least rumored about when it comes to Kimry travelers. And so, but I mean, beyond all of that, these are just people for the most part. You're going to be a little bit better at some things than other people. In the case of magisters, they're going to have lores and languages, and eventually, that's the key phrase there. Eventually, they're going to get all of this really cool stuff that they can do. And that goes with just about anybody for the most part. But your magisters are going to be the ones that are going to be the money sinks. They're going to take a lot of money to make things happen. And honestly, fighters are not cheap either. I mean, I cannot currently afford a shield. Shields are not inexpensive. I don't even have a sword. I have a dagger, a club, and a spear. I have some brigandine armor. And that's it. I've got 132 pence, and I really need to try and find ways to make enough money to afford better gear. Yeah. So, and then Lakey, on the other hand, she's got a dagger, a staff, a spear, a longbow, and she's got some arrows. And beyond that, not too terribly much. So we got to a point yesterday in our fight. So we ended up fighting things, and this was after doing some intense investigation. Trying to find what was happening to these people that were dying in the streets. Basically the streetwalkers were disappearing, and so we're doing this investigation. And again, because of the fact that we don't have all of these abilities to rely on, most of what we're having to rely on is other people. So this is going to play very, very deeply into what Lion and Dragon is. It is a medieval role-playing game for the most part, with some fantasy. It's got some fantasy in there. It's medieval, authentic fantasy role-playing game. And so it is going to force you to play into the idea that society matters. You can't just ignore society in a way that a lot of games of Dungeons and Dragons sometimes end up being games where society gets ignored. Especially the further and further you get away from the original vision of Dungeons and Dragons, perhaps you could say. And that's not really something you can do here. I couldn't wear my armor until I had somebody that was able to vouch that I had a particular task that I needed to do in the city in order to wear armor and have my weapons around. That stuff is important. And just knowing that, I can't just whip out my weapons at any time because they're not on me. It makes the game drastically different compared to what we have experienced, with Dungeons and Dragons. Could you do that with Dungeons and Dragons? Yeah, you probably could, but it's not so heavily supported by the game. If your characters get cornered by a whole bunch of peasants in your D&D game, you can cast sleep. You can have the magic user cast sleep, and you can run away. In this, you might get pummeled to death. That is a very likely outcome of pissing off groups of peasants. So you need to be good to people. You need, and when you're encountered by guards, you need to do what the guards want you to do. Generally speaking, whenever you have aristocrats, then you need to be able to speak with them in the proper manner. So this is a game that so like some people might say that this is a game that forces the players to finally listen to the DM. Because a lot of times you see DMs complaining they're not taking my world seriously and all this kind of stuff. You could say that, but me whenever I'm a player in this position, I love it because this is reinforcing all of these other things that I want to do. So it becomes a completely different game, and I fucking love that so much. The combat. So I already mentioned the parrying system, and I do love that. I do think that it's a really neat addition because it makes the fighter anybody can do it, but the fighter can do it better. And there's a lot of stuff like that it works that way. The fighter can do it better, which to me is just beautiful. But another thing that is included there is critical hits. I mean, for one, critical hits. Number two, HP never gets that insanely high. I already covered that. But critical hits, if you roll a natural 20, then what you're going to do is you're going to roll on a chart. And so the chart is modified by your level if you're a fighter. Actually, it might be your level regardless. I'll have to check up on that. But Modified by your level, perhaps, and at least by your charisma. So the reason for that is because basically the charisma modifier seems to apply in places because God loves you in some ways or one way or another. So because of that, you're going to be more fortunate. And basically, the higher you roll on the chart, the better the outcome. So let me give you a for instance about the stuff that happened yesterday. So yesterday, one of the first things that happened where this really came into effect was we were a witness to a Scotsman, a crazed Scotsman, assaulting a lady. We have no idea why the hell he was assaulting this lady, but we were coming by. She was screaming. He was chasing after her. He had a bloody knife and he looked like trouble. And so my first character, Samuel, tries to tackle the dude and fails. Unfortunately, I rolled like a 17. And I think that he rolled like a 19 for him. So we both rolled very high, but not high enough. So he throws Samuel out of the way. And then my little woman here, this little Kimry, Lakey, she comes up with her staff, and then I roll a natural 20, trying to hit him. So then what does that do? So then I roll on this chart, and by God, I rolled like a 19, and then she has another bonus that put it up to like a 21. And because of that, basically it was an instant save versus death. He had to make a save versus death. It was like a cracking blow against the head, and he failed it. The dude died instantly. One blow from my character. This killed somebody. And that could have happened to me. That's the thing I want you to burn into your brain. That could happen to me, any of my characters. So that means combat is something that you take seriously. You take hella fucking seriously, especially if you don't have clerics, because clerics aren't even a surefire way to get healing because they don't automatically start with healing. So there you go. Natural healing is the most reliable method you're going to see, or people, maybe getting some kind of healing poultices or something like that, something that speeds up your natural healing from a magister. That's the kind of thing that you're going to see. Damn, I only have a few minutes left. Okay. So, one more thing. So the next thing that happened later, we ended up tracking down what was killing these people, which was a black dog, as it turned out. So this very supernatural entity. So we ended up going back to the clerics that kind of hired us to do things, and in trying to see if they could, now that we got some information and we've kind of narrowed it down, can you give us any kind of assistance or anything like that? We managed to milk some holy waters out of them. And then we ended up finding this thing after doing some more investigating, and the actual battle with it was fucking intense because it has an aura of basically necrotic energy or cold death energy that it exudes, and just being there causes 1d6 points of damage per round when you're close to it. And as I already mentioned, Lakey only had 6 hit points to begin with. So after one round of being close to that thing, she was down to half of her health. And so I got her the fuck out of there. Samuel started with 15 hit points. Actually, no. Yeah. He had 15. Yeah, I think he had 15. Yeah, it was somewhere around there. It was somewhere in there. He started with a pretty decent amount, and then just like after being bitten by the thing and then taking some damage from the area, he was down to like 5. He was already in a bad way. Pretty much pretty close to being at a point where he's ready to bleed out, more or less. And the only thing that spared him, because I basically decided this is a devout Christian man, even though we're playing with the sun, so it's like a solarium or whatever. He's a devout Christian man. He's not going to let this creature of evil, continue its prowl without him having stood against it. He's not going to just retreat. Besides, the other people, if he retreats, other people are going to die. So he has to at least do everything he can. So I'm like, he is going to take a stand here, and he'll die if he has to. And so he is going down swinging with this thing. He ends up smashing his holy water thing on the thing, just like, and we just happened to narrowly defeat it. I want to say it was with, I think it was Lakey. No, it wasn't Lakey. He ended up hitting another critical hit, just doing a little bit extra damage. And I want to say that that was the finishing blow. But it was after some other blows had been dealt, basically. But yeah, the only reason that he didn't die, or he could have very well died, if somebody else hadn't done a critical that had stunned him. So I mean, the criticals played heavily into the fact that we survived, which again reiterates the fact that we could have died so easily. It felt good, guys. It felt really good. So at the end of it, we accomplished a lot of things. We did a lot of cool stuff. We were in great peril, but great risk, great reward. Perhaps we got our experience points. We gained the respect of the Lord Mayor and some of the more important clerics in town, and maybe some of the populace. So all of that just reiterates the kind of awesomeness that you can have with Lion and Dragon. So I have not been paid to do anything with Lion and Dragon. I've only ever bought stuff for Lion and Dragon with my own money. So you don't have to worry about that. You can't even say that it's because I have a positive. I mean, okay. So I'm not going to lie and say that Pundit, giving me an opportunity to be on inappropriate characters and all that kind of stuff didn't, put me in the position kind of where I'm at now. Who knows? I would have taken other, if I didn't have him doing that, who knows how long it would have taken for me to get where I'm at now. But that's not why I'm pimping this. I'm pimping this because it's genuinely awesome. And that's the whole reason I created the channel to begin with, is because people weren't talking about Lion and Dragon and stuff like that enough. And I wanted to change that. So anyway, let me go through some comments and then I'm going to have to bail so that I can get to work. All right. So summon the rats. I don't know the okay, my actual rats. Yeah. Maybe I'll bring them on a stream later. Wizard Jim says, I love that the elf and dwarf racial classes are replaced with Welsh and Scottish. It is hilarious, but I love it. It works. It really works. And it's beautiful. Can confirm, and Fiore played with me yesterday. He was one of the other players. Can confirm that politics and detective work in Lion and Dragon is important. Yes. Jay Grooms, good to see you, man. He says, as a player, I would love it. Curtis says, I would love, God loves you and wants you to decapitate heretics. Yes, he does. It's going to be unfortunate. Like, did God, did he not forgive me, forsake me whenever they rolled a nat 20 on me? Wizard Jim says, have a look at Scarpel's 3 Estates feudalism system on Coins and Scrolls sometime. I've heard a lot about Scarpel's. I haven't looked at his stuff yet. Jay Grimm says, talk about Lion and Dragons more sometime. It's a great system. It is a great system, and y'all should really check it out. Highly, highly, highly recommend. It's beautiful. Yeah, I'll do more about it sometime. I've already covered the system through exquisite detail in some of the very first videos that I had on the channel. And of course, they were some of the very first videos I had on the channel, so they're not exactly the prettiest or the best done. And I didn't quite have a lot of my cadence down, I don't think. But anyway, those do exist if you're interested in hearing more about it. But yeah, I'll talk more about it as we continue playing, because basically if Dark Knight of Hibernia keeps running the game, then I'm going to keep playing as long as I can. So look forward to hearing about that perhaps. Anyway, y'all take it easy. Have a wonderful day and peace out.